we have to talk about the fallout of the Budden podcast real quick. We'll just do like quick 10 minutes on that, or 15 minutes or whatever, a few minutes, okay? Because I've been wanting to talk about this for a while, but we just real quick, if you have a couple minutes, I just want to just see what your thoughts are on the whole thing, and where do you see it going? Or first of all, are you on the JBN Patreon? Are you on that?
I'm not.
Okay.
But I've seen the videos that Rory and Mal put out, and I've of course been like reading all about what Joe Budden has had to say to them, the first podcast without him, all of that. I think that there's a lot that Joe ain't saying. For one thing. And two, I think that they're handling it perfectly.
As far as him or everyone involved, or Rory and Mal, or what? How do you mean? Like just how this whole situation is gone? You think they're handling it well?
I didn't think so at first, because the first video, like after Joe Budden apologized and all that stuff, Mal was mad.
He was big mad.
Like he just kept on like pushing the issue.
He was big mad because he was he came back, and then it was still like it didn't seem like there was still things that were still like obviously bugging him, and that was telling, because usually for him to get bothered like that, obviously it means that like something was like off, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and he really, really aired Joe's shit out. Like it was bad, because Joe, like, he didn't really seem like the type of dude to just like be so like ashamed and apologetic as he was.
Right.
And then after that, for Mal to even be like, hey, yo, fuck this dude, really, like, his ego was getting the best of him. He wasn't the one filling shows. He made it seem like he was the one filling venues and wanted to stick his chest out about it, but it wasn't him. It was us.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I think that, yeah, maybe there was maybe some blood in the water initially, maybe around the tour time, because that was different, because that was before the Spotify deal, I think, when they started going on the road.
Oh yeah.
And then like, they're getting big money right there. I mean, that was, and I think that was definitely a trip to Joe to be like, yo, and he definitely should have known that it's been a team the whole time, and that's disappointing, on the other hand, though, I could see where it could be weird, just because of the fact that, like, if his career was just so in the middle and never really got past a certain plateau, and then all of a sudden your podcast career goes off the chain, and you're like making way more money than you ever were doing music, and it is Joe Budden's name on there. It is the Joe Budden TV. Yeah, it is those things, and those that he did have an audience before that. No one knew who Mal was before that.
Yeah, so of course he's gonna feel like
don't
bite the hand that feeds you. My name is on this thing. I'm the one bringing people out. Yada yada yada. So like, I mean, I wouldn't say he has the right to feel like that, but
no. Yeah.
If he does feel like that, there's some justification to it.
Right. And I think the problem is that he just came off, because of his lack of trust because what it sounded like it was that they were asking, they're asking for the accounting and this and that, and he's just like, no, because no, and also on the principle of feeling that like, why don't you trust me, kind of thing. That is where a lot of people and a lot of, I mean, especially, I think, bands can relate to this kind of thing more. I mean, podcasts, I feel like some people are like, this is crazy, Joe's crazy, blah, 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 blah. But then I think that there's some other like actual bands and groups and things like that where this is like way more common. You know what I mean? Where it's like, it's, is it the Temptations or is it David Ruffin in the Temptations? You know what I mean? Is it, like, is there a leader here? Yes, but is it still a team? It's supposed to be.
I've been listening to like different podcasts that Questlove has been on, and it sounds like it's been a big problem for even the Roots. If you see the Roots out and about, you wouldn't see that they have these big problems. But anybody that's a super fan of the Roots knows that, oh my God, I mean, look at You Got Me. Look at Break You Off. They couldn't communicate.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah.
The intro to Rising Down, you hear how big like quarrels would take place because of things that were happening around them. It can happen to anybody.
I mean, yeah, it's yeah, exactly. And Questlove, that's really interesting how he talks about it. I mean, me and Pace always talk about like putting together a book called Band Leader Blues or whatever, where we just talk about those things where it's like the burden of being a leader of a band is just so, it could be really taxing because like initially everyone is on the same page. Everyone is like, down to do stuff, down to make money, down to do whatever. And then all of a sudden, once people start making a little bit of bread, and I'm not, again, we're not on that anywhere close to that level, but it's like when you start making a little bit of bread, then all of a sudden people like want either more bread or they want to figure out if the bread's going to the right place or, exactly. This and that. And it's just like, and yet, the thing is that the Band Leader Blues is like, there's things that as a band leader you have to do that sometimes it's kind of whack to tell everybody, like, if you're what I mean? Like there's things that like that almost it ruins how you bake the cake. You know what I mean? And it's like, does everybody want to know how you bake the cake every time? Not every time, not really. And it's even including people in the band. It's like, you don't know what some people have to do to make these other things happen. I think Joe has always felt like that, where he's like, you guys don't understand how much extra work that I have to do to make all these other things happen or whatever.
Inevitably, in this position, you're going to end up being the bad guy.
Right. You try your best not to. Yeah, there really is no way. You try not to, and I it's a really fine line. There's bands that I've hung out with that are like, the vibe is so great and like, doesn't feel like that there's any, or if there is any type of conflict, it's everyone is still on the same page about what the conflict is, and it's not a problem because we all still like what we're doing and we're enjoying it and we have a good time, and everybody's personality is still the same and all that. And then there's other bands you hang out with and you're just like, this feels this is vibey, it's like, what is, I don't know what's happening, but I know something has happened or whatever, and I'm slightly uncomfortable in this. I'm going to do my thing, but then I'm going to, and it's like that, those bands that have those awesome vibes, it's like, you're like, man, this is great. I wonder how they're able to keep it like this. You know what I mean? Because it's not easy. It's just not easy to do that.
Also, I'm going to retract my statement of saying that they handled it well. I say they handled it well for my entertainment.
For entertainment's sake, they handled it well.
The video that they put out, the job interview,
the job hunt, yeah,
hilarious.
that is so well done.
Yeah.
And Rory comes I think I think that's the other confusing thing, is that Rory's energy was like so bad, like for a while. It was really like I mean honestly, I loved listening to the show, but like right before they left the show, like those 20 some episodes or whatever, like when the year started, I was just like, man, like Rory, shut the fuck up. Like I was always like, Rory's talking so much, or always
That's
trying to talk.
and see the thing is I hadn't heard an episode in forever.
Okay.
So I had to go back and do my homework and listen to like the new dynamic. And luckily for me, when I went back and listened to them all, this was about 3 weeks before the
Yeah.
firing happened.
Right.
So I had caught up in time for the firing.
Right.
Thank God, because I'll be completely out of the loop. And yeah,
Okay.
it's like Roy was trying to make it seem like all of a sudden it was his show.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. That's what was kind of like jacking me up a little bit, was like he was always interjecting a lot in between everything Joe said, and just like was always, and he was like he would never let, even when Joe is like doing that, sometimes still I would like for Joe to be able to finish his statement, because after he does finish, he will let cats talk. So it's like
He's always been good about that.
He's always been good about that, but the energy was so bad. And I was just like, what is the deal? Because I mean, the energy was worse coming back from them not being in the room doing the Zoom. Said they hated the Zooms, but some of those Zooms were funny as shit. Those Zoom episodes were really funny. And then all of a sudden they come back together and the vibe is cool for a little while. And then all of a sudden it gets weird. Rory's like mad angry, like it's super angry white man.
And what happened was inevitable, because it's like a one-man pissing contest. Right. It's like Roy's sitting there pissing, and Joe's sitting there like, "Why are you pissing on my foot?"
Like, why are you pissing on my foot every fucking episode? And Maul is just like looking at his phone. He's not even paying attention half the time to stuff. And then when they come back, it's like Rory all of a sudden has this like zen like energy, like where he's just like, no, I like, he's like real, like, agreeable, and like, I understand, He still didn't say like, I know the show's because of what you started, and blah, blah, blah. But he still also said something like, he's like, we're part of the show, blah, 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 blah. But I'm like, I don't know what the about face was, where all of a sudden his energy is like a million times better from when it was like, it was super negative up until I guess that time in April, because I guess it was like the beginning of May or something like that, when all of a sudden the shit started going down. And I'm just like, it's confusing to me, because I'm just like, and the energy, I don't know if it was the emotional oranges thing, like he's working on that all the time and he got rid of that stuff and it's done and the album's out, and I just don't understand the sequence of events to where he went from super angry Irish, Rory, to like enlightened, nice guy Rory. Like, I don't know how that came about. And like, and it just, that kind of confuses me too. Cause I'm just like, man, is this, what is, I mean, is it really just over money, or is it just like the respect thing, or is it just is it ego and all of that?
It's respect and ego.
Yeah,
I definitely see it as an ego thing.
Yeah.
Because once they were free, look at how like, and this is going to continue to go on. They're going to have their own podcast, and they're going to give viewers, because of all of this, the ego is going to continue to grow.
Well, yeah, and that's going to be, it's just very messy. It's to somewhat of an extent, because it's like the breakup didn't really have to happen, and
no,
and now, and the other thing is that Rory and Maul, I mean, they became friends because of Joe, so it's like, are they going to have a podcast where they're going to be talking about stuff too, where they're going to be bouncing off of people. Because if that happens, that could be cool. Because I feel like it can't just be those two talking about Joe.
No, they would have to have guests in there. If it was just them two talking about Joe, that would
reinforce Joe's ego.
Yeah, I was about to say that. First of all, that, and it wouldn't have a long shelf life. I don't think. It's like eventually people are going to be like, enough is enough.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think it's good. I think that's going to be. I don't know, man. I'm interested to see what that. Oh, so what do you think is going to happen with Joe's podcast? Because have you watched with Ish and Ice? Have you watched those? Oh, so you haven't watched any of the stuff with him with the new guys or anything or any of that?
I haven't, not yet, but
Okay. Yeah.
I personally thought that exactly what happened, as you're telling me, like now, what happened? He would keep on going with new people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Maybe they would have the same energy, maybe they wouldn't, but he's gonna be fine. Because just like what happened at the beginning, he's Joe Budden. His name was on the thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It may not be as good, but it'll keep going.
And and the thing is that if he's there was an episode that came out this week where I guess Lloyd Banks called into the show because he's putting out something pretty soon and he's coming back but he said well, the album's coming out pretty soon, but we still got to do some final tweaks. And he was like talking to Joe about, he's like, if you got, if you trying to get back in the stew or whatever. And Joe was like, yeah, I got some things I want to say. I got some things, I got some things I want. And this was like literally like the other day, So I'm like, they when it's all down, when everything's good and gravy, of course he would not want to go back to rapping. But if it's now, it's like, okay, now you're trying to like tarnish my name. Oh, and that was the other thing. Olivia Dope tweeted out about the Roy and Mal show like a couple days ago, or about that skit, and was like, I'm watching these guys for the skit or whatever, and and I'm like, I'm not doing like,
it's something off there. It's something been off there since you first announced it.
Yeah, I'm like, well, I thought you were like not cool with. I mean, I can understand if you're still cool with the girls or whatever, but like, were you always cool with Rory and Mal? You're gonna watch the Rory and Mal show and support that? But
something's
like,
very off about Olivia Dope's involvement.
I 100% agree. I liked her, but I do not trust her online persona. I don't trust it. Like I don't. I feel like she's kind of scammy a little bit. And
yeah, like hashtag believe women, but in this case, ulterior motives, like, come on.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know, man. That doesn't feel right to me. So I don't know what's gonna happen with that. Also, do you watch any of the other podcasts on the network?
I do not.
Yeah, okay. All right. You know what? Don't watch it. None of that shit. I'm the only one. I guess I'm the only one that's actually. I watch Bridget Kelly's show because I like Bridget Kelly.
Yeah, my whole thing is like I got into podcasting like relatively recently. The only ones I was really listening to was y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Because y'all are my homies and I've known y'all for so long. Of course I'm gonna support. Mm-hmm. But when I got a job where I could have the headphones 8 hours a day, that's when I heavily got into it.
Word. Fuck yeah. Okay.
But and like just recently here, because everything has been so hectic coming out on the other side of the pandemic.
Right.
I just want like positive energy and something like really, really affecting.
Yeah.
In a good way, or in like a nostalgic way. So the best thing that I found recently was like just listening to podcasts about movies and music that I love. Like there are a bunch out there that I can recommend. But the biggest thing that's happened recently in the podcast universe is the Midnight Miracle.
So you are listening to that?
Yes.
So you have the app. Is that the app, Luminary app? Or
yes. I have switched off of Stitcher to Luminary just for that.
Okay.
Because I listened to the first episode of it, which is available pretty much everywhere, as far as I'm concerned, at least on Apple Podcasts.
Okay.
But I listened to that first episode, and the way that it was done was so different and new from anything that I've heard from a podcast that I was just like, oh, I'm getting a subscription, even if it's just to hear this every week or two.
Yeah, because there's production involved.
Yeah,
because they're releasing it as vinyl, so it's like the podcast is almost like is kind of separated by songs and like it's kind of like side A, side B kind of thing. Yeah. You know, kind of that vibe going on, which is also super genius because they're releasing that on vinyl, and then that's going to be another way that Dave Chappelle can get a Grammy.
It's incredible. It makes you think about a whole lot. It's the way Dave Chappelle and then produced this whole thing and approach it. It's like if Spike Lee had a podcast, he directed it the way that he does his films.
Right. Okay.
So I highly recommend that to anybody that is just like thrown off by the drama of Joe Budden podcast and all that stuff. Like I found myself to be after a little bit. Even though I find that Joe was justified in what he did after the way that, as we discussed, the energy started to shift and the ego started to inflate and the resentment started to inflate with the ego. I just found more of a home with Midnight Miracle to the point where I listened to the first 2 episodes 3 times in the first day that I heard it.
Damn. Okay.
It was just like the subject matter of those first 2 episodes and the way they executed it warranted re-listening.
Wow. Interesting. Okay.
That's why I texted you like, yo, if you have not heard this, check this out.
All right, I'm definitely going to give it a more of a. I've listened to some of it. I haven't listened to the whole thing, so I'm going to definitely give it more of a listen because I've definitely heard. I heard a little bit of it, and I was like, man, I mean, like Chappelle, he getting ready to come into podcasting, like because he sounds like natural for it, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and you can feel it in there. They bring different guests in every week, like Questlove, John Hamm.
Yeah.
And they're not like interview guests. It's just like they'll have little bits and pieces where they interject on the conversation that they're having. And that makes it very interesting. It's like, okay, this celebrity is there, but it's not in your traditional format.
Well, I mean, because I heard about this before. I mean, basically, I think they are real, just like real ass conversations. And they just tape them and then they're editing them. You know, obviously, as you can tell, they're editing them like crazy. So it's like it's like they're like real combos. Because Questlove was hyping it on his podcast last year. He was just like,
oh yeah, that's the first place I heard about it. Like
he was like, I don't know what he's going to do with this shit, but this shit is fire.
Oh yeah, and Questlove Supreme is just another one of those. Questlove Supreme, Drink Champs. These are all podcasts that tension isn't there. And that tension wasn't there with Joe Budden. But as soon as the tension was there, I found myself wanting to shift. While paying attention to like news stories about it and all of that stuff, it's just like, that's not the energy that you would want.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I ever heard something happen like that with y'all,
Mm-hmm.
I, I honestly would worry about it. I would hit y'all up first of all. I would worry about y'all, but the podcast wouldn't be the same if, for example, you and James started butting heads regularly and started trying to like outflex one another.
Right. Right.
The desire would leave slowly.
Totally.
And that's exactly what happened for me as I listened to more and more of Joe Budden's podcast. Like, it just, that stuffy energy kind of pushed me away. I think that chaotic or negative energy is not something that I can really tolerate right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I same here. I'm definitely not the same fan as I was because it's not really the same show. I still like it. I still like listening to it. But it's a little different. I also kind of hang in there for my guy Parks because, he's like, it's like, he's the producer and shit on the show. So it's like I root for him.
I'm actually being a producer on that show is hell right now.
I mean, it sounds like it's tough. I mean, and what it also sounds like to me is that it's like that Joe Budden got a network together without really putting together the proper people to really run a network. So that, and it sounds like that along with, it sounds like there should be more women there. It shouldn't be like a male dominated, especially not with the kind of attitude that Joe has, because it's, he doesn't care, but he does care. But when it comes to when the cameras are on and shit like that, for the most part, and it's his own stuff, he doesn't care. And I get like about what people think because he's like, that's me, it's who I am, blah blah blah. But
Somebody got to be able to check him when he steps a little out of line.
Well, I mean, the thing is like it was those guys, and now it is like kind of up to Parks a little bit, and these other two dudes. I mean, but I think this one. I mean, I think that this one is going to. This is going to be an interesting. It's going to be an interesting year. I'm really because this is not what I was expecting. I don't think it was what anyone was expecting that the Joe Budden podcast, original Joe Budden podcast would or the most famous version of it would break up,
Yeah, no, nobody was expecting it at all. The way that I found out is I follow a bunch of podcasts, and when the synopsis for that episode popped up, I was just like, wait a minute, what? Like they had to cut it early because of what happened.
Right.
And that made me go read more about it.
Right. Yeah.
And it was like you didn't expect it, but you did at the same time when you went and thought about it, like retrospectively analyzed Rory's behavior.
I mean, I knew something was coming, but I just didn't. I was hoping that because I know they've had other times where there's probably things that went down and there was like a little tension, but they were able to clean that up.
Yeah.
And but this time, I mean, honestly, I mean, that was the other thing. I could also tell as soon as they started the Patreon thing, like Maul was being weird. And then they were starting getting on Maul about like, you're not on time and like you're not coming on, like Maul's late and and where is he at? And he's, and I think I was just like,
oh yeah, that I noticed on the episode.
Yeah, I was just like, what? Now they're like kind of getting on Maul about what he's doing or whatever. And I'm like, they never get on Maul about anything. Like,
man, my whole thing is, as a professional adult that collaborates with people often, I was just put off by the way that it was handled and shocked that it went down like that.
Yeah.
That he legitimately said, Rory, you're fired. And you are no longer welcome in here.
That was
it's like you can feel the weight in your chest, like it was happening. He was like, wow, he really did this like that.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. And Rory was so cool. Like he had JB, he still had the Joe Budden podcast in his bio on Twitter, like until like for another little while. Like it took a couple it took like another week, but he still had it up there. He was still not tripping and like not like just being like, oh fuck it, you know, whatever. Now it's all gone. But like, you know, it wasn't like it. He was still kind of like, you know, I'm gonna figure out what's going on and whatever. It seemed like that he was still trying to like stick around. And
I was about to say ready for reconciliation if that was even on the table.
well, I think that was the weird thing. It was like he was ready for it, but Maul was like, you know, like I don't think that this dude respects us or respects me or like, you know, and whatever. And it's like, well, yeah, there should have been, there really there. I mean, basically, they just did another episode recently where one of the guys are talking about having a mediator, and I'm just like, why hasn't any of this happened? Like, why hasn't there been a mediator?
And it should have happened off of air.
And they shouldn't really be. And at this point, with this much money, they should not even be close to talking about business. They should not really be talking about business at all. Like no. It should be very cut and dry or whatever, and then be like, cool. My manager is going to hit up or my lawyer is going to hit up your lawyer, and we'll get all that stuff straight. Like there should be there really shouldn't be any type of like crazy business talk of like about money and stuff at this point. Like
y'all get over what's in the forefront before y'all come back to that.
Yeah, like I don't understand. That was a little mind blowing to me. I'm just like, why hasn't there been a mediator from the beginning? Because it's like Joe Budden is not the best person to articulate anything. Like as far as, but I always get like it seems like white people are are obsessed with Joe Budden in a way, like because they are like, you know, can we tame this black lion? You know what I mean? Because he's so they want to tame that motherfucker. Like the Patreon guy, like he's just like I just want to get to know what's ticking inside you, man. Like he's that guy. You know, he's like into him, and like any of the white business people on CNBC and all, they all love Joe. But yet, I would not ever have him in any business meeting ever, like because it just seems like he would not be able to. I mean, and I take that back because he seems like he can, but because it feels like that he couldn't, it could still go off at any point. I wouldn't have him in there for a bunch of talks. You know what I mean? Like personally, one or two, and have dinner, and then business people, bam. Like I just don't understand why there hasn't been a lot more help in the whole situation.
It goes to tell you it's all ego.
Yeah.
It's personal and it's ego.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's interesting, man. So yeah. So I will say also though the girl, the Bridget Kelly show and Megan B, they have a show they're called The Thing Is or whatever, but they have now also started like a side show on there that's called Freshly Squeezed, that's going to be focusing straight up on music and them talking to other musicians and producers and stuff. And I like hearing Bridget Kelly talk about her music career because she's been, you know, she's been up there, you know, she toured with Jay-Z, you know, doing.
See, that's up my alley. I love hearing like music stories and all that stuff. That's why I'm so into Questlove Supreme.
Yeah.
And Drink Champs.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Like I love those. And like this Freshly Squeezed thing, I like hearing them talk about, you know, current stuff, but them talking about music and Bridget talking about her experience in the music industry and like how she's, you know, she's kind of getting back into it right now. She's trying to start like get back into recording and writing and stuff. And, you know, she's been like up in some of those circles, but she just hasn't had like any breakout success or anything. And I think because I think her personality is like awesome, you know, obviously she's gorgeous, but like I think her personality is fantastic, and I think that she could definitely break out more, you know, like just because she could sing her face off. But I think this Freshly Squeezed show is gonna be really cool. So
I'll definitely check that out.
Yeah, the first one came out yesterday with this guy LA on it. Elhae. Have you heard of him? Yeah, he's supposedly is a guy like that's up on the up and up, and she was she and him were like super familiar on the show. They were like really friendly, so they knew each other really well. But I hadn't heard of him, but he seemed like super cool, and I'm definitely going to check out his shit. Yeah, so I would recommend that. Did you listen to Tracy Ellis Ross, Questlove Supreme? Did you listen to that one?
No, is that a new one?
That's the newest one. I haven't listened to it yet, but it looked like
I haven't.
Tracy Ellis Ross, Questlove Supreme. I'm actually probably when we get off here, I'm probably gonna check that out because
that'll probably be well, I have this one podcast that I follow, Blank Check. It's a whole bunch of miniseries going through certain directors' filmographies, movie by movie. And the miniseries they're in now is John Singleton.
Oh.
And Rosewood is up.
Okay.
So that's probably the first one that I'll listen to on Tuesday. But that's definitely going to be one I dive into on Tuesday. It just sounds... Do you say the name Tracy Ellis Ross on Questlove Supreme? I'm there. Like, I want to hear that right away.
There's also another podcast that's on YouTube. It's on Apple Podcasts as well, but it's called Black on Black Cinema. Black on Black Cinema, and that's a really good one where they literally like review and go they'll talk about old movies and new ones, but all Black movies, and they'll talk about the plot and everything, and they
Black Men Can't Jump is the same way. That's another really dope one.
Black Men Can't Jump?
But it's Black Men Can't Jump and in parentheses in Hollywood.
Okay, I'm gonna look that one up.
It's three dudes about our age just talking about Black movies. And it's like all Black movies over time. Like if a new one drops, they'll cover it that week. But if there's no new one that drops, they'll like go back and do something like they just did how Stella Got a Groove Back a week or two ago.
Okay.
So they're just all over the board with it, but they're making sure that they cover Black films, and
I love that. Yeah, the Black on Black Cinema one, they're strictly Black films, and they they do all kinds, but if they think the movie's trash, they'll talk about it, and they're really fun. I think they're in Baltimore. They're like older Black dudes, and not older, like 40s or whatever, but they are really funny, kind of nerdy. They have like a bunch of other podcasts too. Like they have like a Seinfeld one
and see, Black Men Can't Jump is the same way, like nerdy and hilarious.
Yeah.
You know that Netflix show, Astronomy Club?
No.
Okay, it was a Black sketch comedy show.
Oh yeah. Yep, I know about that. Yeah.
The three hosts are on Astronomy Club.
Mm-hmm.
And they're hilarious. They just have a different way of looking at things. Like hilarious, but very prevalent. And I hate using this word a lot. Like now it's getting to the point where I hate using this word. Very prevalent and woke.
It's woke.
About how these movies and their situation, like either their like situation behind the scenes or the movie itself, have to do with the culture.
Interesting. That one's called Astronomy Club, or the Black Men Can't Jump one?
Black Men Can't Jump.
And how? Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I'm
gonna send you a list after we get off here.
Yeah, because I send me a list, because that one I just looked that one up. I have that one on my.
And you send me a few that you think I should listen to.
Man.
Because I'm getting to a point where I've been in my job for a little bit now, like going on 2 years. I'm starting to run out of podcasts.
Bro, trust me, I can help you out, man.
Yeah, like I'm catching up on all of them to the point where I just have to listen to them week by week and can't like binge episodes.
Man, There's the one that got me hooked on the Black and Black cinema one is they watched this movie called, it's before Issa Rae's Insecure, but it was called Insecure, but I think it was just Insecure, and it's just a horrible movie that did actually really well. It's a black movie, and they play clips of, they play clips of the dialogue and shit, man. Oh my god, dude, I'm telling you, I was they haven't even put this episode on YouTube for some reason, and I've been trying to bug them about it. But if you go on Apple Podcasts and look for it, like I think it's like literally episode like 50. I'm gonna look for it and send it to you. But this is the one. It's the one that got me hooked on the show, and I was like, this shit is so funny. I mean, they're just ripping this movie apart.
See, I love that type of
and
shit,
rip
man.
and the dialogue, and they talk about how bad everything is shot, and like the like how cheap it looks and everything, and like and how it's like Tyler Perry movie, but it's like the dialogue is
like a B-level Tyler Perry movie,
bro. I mean, it's so bad, and I mean, I only can see it in my. I mean, you look it up. Whenever I see it in my mind, I hear the dialogue. I mean, I have died laughing to this fucking episode.
Yeah, send me that, man.
I'm gonna send you that one because like that one like killed me, man. All right, well, cool. No, I wanted to get a little of that on there because I might put this video up on the hustle season. Just this video of us talking about this. I might put this one up on the hustle season joint.
I bet.
Because yeah, man. Because people just been talking about this like crazy about the whole thing, and I just think that it's a moment in time, man. With like with the Joe Budden podcast, because it is a bigger podcast. I mean, I used to listen to it like I just used to listen to it like crazy, like when like back in the day, and when it was really like raw. No one was checking it out then.
Yeah, like I really wish that I heard more people's like point of views, because this could be interpreted so many different ways. Like there are people who probably know more about it than me. There may be people that know less about it than I do. Like, it could go either way. But I'm glad that I got to talk to you about it because you know a lot about it.
Well, I wanted to get Reggie on here too because he listens to it. He's pretty close on it. Not maybe not as much as I have, and he's not a crazy big fan of Joe Budden at all. So it's like I think both of our perspectives are good because I wasn't really a fan of his with his rap career that much, but like I enjoyed. He's a Virgo. And also I enjoy his weird, like, it's almost like, it's like a weird like form of Tourette's or something. Like there's something that I respect about it because it's just like, he has a really loud voice. Like you can't ignore him. He does say things that make sense, but he also is completely obnoxious. And
oh yeah.
It's just it's perfect for podcasting. It's perfect for media.
Nuanced too. Who he reminds me of? Not quite as abrasive and disagreeable. Charlamagne.
He is. Well, yeah, and that's another one, and that's another beef. Like they can't even. Both of those guys have something. Charlamagne has something that he does not like about Joe, and he will not really fess up to it. He always like tries to dance around that he's like, I'm trying to support the dude. And I'm like, you said
they're too similar.
They're too similar. Maybe they're too similar, but he has said some things about him that are just not like that are not what you say. It's like when Rosenberg said the shit about Nicki Minaj and how Super Bass or Starship sucked. It's like she took it personally because it feels like you're talking about her, but he's talking about the song. And it's like, I feel like that, when people will take shit that he says and just like kind of like blow it up. But I just think that sometimes it's just the way it comes across, and he has a tone issue. He's got a bunch of things going on. You know what I mean?
I think it could be part projection with both of them because they're so similar.
Yeah.
You know what they say? People that are so similar usually clash harder.
Yeah.
And that could be the case with these two.
They are very similar, and they do yeah, they got, there's something, I don't know what's up with that. And because the thing is that I feel like they do need each other, but for some reason they always want to compete against each other. Like I feel like that Charlemagne is always trying to compete with Joe when y'all are like totally in the completely two different realms. Like
here's my thing overall. I believe that not just in this case, but people that are in the same arena, it ain't always a competition.
It ain't always a competition.
Like let's support each other. Like we all got the same end goal, really. Let's all just, you know,
I don't
get together and build each other up. And a lot of people just don't.
They don't do it. They don't do it.
Ego.
It's interesting, man. But yeah, man. Look, I appreciate you sitting in for a little bit, just talking about this stuff, man.
No problem.
I'm you know, we have a little collection of videos from these versus stuff, and I have one up on the YouTube, but it's not, it's private. But I think we might just put this on I might just put this on the Vimeo and put this on the Patreon. I'll put the other thing on the Patreon, but I have no idea what I'm going to do with those videos, but they'll be up somewhere somehow.
I bet, man. Well, thank you for having me, and I'm going to get at you soon.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's talk soon, buddy.
Absolutely. I got a lot to talk to you about, as you know already.
Yeah, man. No, we definitely always got to chop it up, bro. Definitely.
Yeah, I'm going to flesh a few things out here and there. Like, that's what I'm trying to do tonight after I get off here. But once I get everything a little more figured out, I'm going to definitely get at you.
Oh yeah, and those instrumentals, I'm gonna get. Dude, this week got kind of crazy for me, but I'm gonna get back on that this week. And
I completely understand, but as far as those instrumentals go, I'll just say that that's the sequence that I've got, where I feel like, okay, I'm comfortable with this, and this is going to be a very important album.
Oh well, then I need to go ahead and take a listen.
Important.
Then I need to go ahead and take a listen and just make sure I know what I'm dealing with.
Yeah. And I can send you a few notes letting you know who's where and all of that. Like, of course, you'll know, like, by videos and hearing the songs where Sam is, where Ali is, where you are. But I just want to give you the full rundown. I have it on a Evernote note somewhere, and I can just send it over to you.
Fire, man. All right, dude, let's talk soon, buddy.
All right, take it easy, man.
All right, brother. Peace. Man.